Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelenTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 193 of the Galen Trombley Show. My guest today, I actually just met him, but I think from a virtual world, I followed him a little bit in this company, and I think every time I drive down South Junction, I always peek into the yard and kind of see, and it looks like it's pretty much, and I'll have you expand on this, almost like a little Caddyshack kind of thing, like a little building, and then I'm sure there's more yard than there is structure. But my guest today is Troy Baraby. He is the co-owner of South Junction Enterprises and More Recycling South Junction in Plattsburgh, More Recycling in Keysville. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this. And the 5 minutes I've talked to you prior to getting on, I think we're going to have some fun today. So welcome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Galen.
So again, you kind of gave me, I'll give the elevator pitch, but I have you go more into detail here. Who are you? Where'd you come from? How'd you get involved with both of these businesses? And again, running two businesses, anything else that you're a part of that take up life? So go ahead.
Sure. Yep. My name is Troy Baraby. I'm from Keysville, born and raised, 36 years old. And I am co-owner of More Recycling in Keysville, third generation scrap metal recycling company. Co-owner of South Junction Enterprises with my brother, which is a rail facility in Plattsburgh, and we actually just started a third business, More Trucks, out of Keysville, New York as well. Third generation on the scrap, so I've been pretty much doing that my whole life, even before we had our own scrap metal recycling business. I worked for my grandfather when I was younger, and then I've been doing that my whole life. South Junction, we started in 2016. So we've been doing that 6-7 years now. And then More Trucks is a brand new business. We just started, trucking company out of Keysville as well.
So there's a little bit of similarity, but a lot of difference and similarity between the two. Do you find, which one takes up most of your time at this point?
I would say probably More Recycling is the most time consuming one that we have the most employees at. It's a little bit more overhead, higher functioning, stuff like that. There's more facets to it for the services that we provide and offer to our customers. Not that we don't do a lot of stuff at South Junction and More Trucks, but South Junction is run by just a couple of people, some really key people down there. So probably for me, More Recycling is where I spend most of my time. My brother and I used to work at South Junction every day ourselves for the first 3 years, unloading rail cars and doing stuff like that. And then we found it was best to train an existing employee, and he kind of takes care of it now for us. And so we can be free to go get new deals, go get work on contracts, work closer to some of our customers and stuff, and manage the other facets of the business. So,
and when you come from, a knowledge perspective, what's the one that you think just kind of fits the mold the best for you? Like, which one comes easiest? Obviously, is the scrapyard, having had at this point decades involved in that?
It's funny that you say it like that. They're so different. The one that's, the tried and true one we've been doing so long, obviously, is More Recycling. Like I said, we're third generation in that, and I was working for my grandfather when I was a kid doing that. So that one is in a way, the one I always have seen myself doing. South Junction, like I said, 5-6 years now, and that was just something my brother and I started. Kind of happened on a whim. Kind of a couple funny stories of how that all started, I'm sure we'll get into later. And then More Trucks is brand new. We just started it this year, within the last several months. Trucking company where we own a whole bunch of trucks and offer trucking services for other people. So they have different different vibes, different feelings, and I guess they're special to me all in their own independent, different ways.
Do you find obviously more recycling, I think, special because of nostalgia, obviously
Absolutely.
starting as a young kid, but
Absolutely.
what made you get in or start South Junction?
So South Junction, funny story, that my brother and I were kind of looking for a second scrapyard closer to Plattsburgh, which we hope to eventually someday get, and we're still looking into. We have so many customers in Plattsburgh, from residential to commercial customers. So we were kind of looking for a second location, and we found this piece of property. And we went to bid on it. And like I said, we were thinking second scrapyard. We bought it and knew it needed some rehab and stuff, but we were just so busy with our other endeavors with the scrapyard and, doing trucking and different stuff like that. So kind of initially for a few months kind of got put on the back burner after we bought it. And then that was in the end of 2015. 2016, we went down and started, kind of rehabbing it, doing some work on it, stuff like that. And Canadian Pacific Rail called me. I was at my office in Keysville, and they called me and they said, "Hey, is this Troy Baraby?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." And they said, "Well, we heard you bought that piece of property up on South Junction Road." I guess I should tell you in the beginning there's a rail spur on the piece of property.
Okay.
So that hadn't been used in several years. And they said, "Well, have you ever thought about unloading rail cars for customers, for companies?" And I said, "No, not really." And they said, "Well, transloading's a big thing. A lot of people do it for their own companies, but don't offer the services to other companies. And, it's a good business. You should think about doing it." And they said, "Do you mind if we give your number to some people? Is it something you'd consider?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Give them my number." And that was 2016. And then they started giving my number out. People started calling me, and I started doing some research into it, into what it was like to unload rail cars for companies, what they call transloading. So transloading is moving one commodity from either truck to rail or rail to truck. Mm-hmm. It's usually done in bulk volumes. So I said, "Yeah, sure." And I first company that called me, was at Omaha, Nebraska, and they had, strategically, looked in upstate New York, in the North Country, in and around Clinton and Essex County, because they knew we had a lot of farms. They were a grain company.
Okay.
And they wanted to sell grain to farms. So they kind of already had known about, the amount of agricultural, presence that was in the North Country. And they had done their homework before getting a hold of us. So we met up with them. They loved the facility, and make a long story short, that was the first deal that we inked in early 2017 now. I remember because I was on my honeymoon with my wife. And the first rail cars came in when we were gone on our honeymoon. My brother took all these funny pictures, and, he was all excited to see the first rail cars coming in. It was like our little claim to fame there. So, yeah, that was in 2017, and it really grew from there.
So really it was just kind of by happenstance it happened. Like, again, you guys kind of kept your options open.
It
and
was.
Do you find that you, obviously this was an opportunity that fell in your lap, but are you someone that kind of keeps your, like I said, I think people that are optimistic, I think people that are open to trying new things. Some people are so closed, they just almost mentally just can't even see that. But
Absolutely.
you could easily have said no.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it changed the course of, at least up to this point, last 5-6 years.
I think it was a couple of different things. I think some of it was that, so scrap metal is a really cyclical, type of market-based thing where it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, like the stock market, like any other things. Mm-hmm. And I think that part of it was just looking for something to diversify ourselves, something different than we had done in the past. And one thing that's, so great about being partners with my brother is he's always looking for different new ways of something to do. So, we bought the property thinking, hey, there's a rail spur on it that could be something. And then, like I said, we just had gotten so busy doing stuff with more recycling, and then it really just started with that first contract, doing the grain for the farms, and that was really what kicked it off.
How was the upstart? Again, if you're busy at more recycling,
Sure.
this gets dumped in, and then how do you make that transition to put time into it?
It's so what we did at the beginning was, my brother and I are very hands-on people. We like to know what we're talking about with our customers. So what we did at the beginning is I'd work down there for 3 months, and then I'd go back to more recycling, and Tanner would go down and work South Junction for 3 months, and we just really traded off for 3 months at a time. And he would do it, I would do it. We both knew how to unload and work with the rail cars and stuff. Understood the equipment. I guess a preface to that is before we actually brought in the rail cars and started doing it, we went on a road trip for 4 or 5 days, my brother and I, and went and saw other rail facilities and what they were doing, how they were unloading it, what equipment they were using. So, we wanted to do our homework as far as, we wanted to make sure it was efficient. We wanted to know how fast people were unloading rail cars at other facilities. Like I said, what kind of equipment they were using. We're familiar with the equipment for scrap metal recycling, but not unloading rail cars. So we had to do our homework on that.
Was this before you said yes?
So yeah, like
officially said yes, or did
yes.
you say like, yes, let's go figure it out?
No, well, we kind of had known when CP got a hold of us before we inked the deal that like, okay, this is what transloading is. This is what people do. And when the grain company reached out, they said, this is kind of what we're looking for. And so that's when we went on the road trip, and they said, well, there's some other people that are doing this. Here's some of their names and numbers. It was, 5-6 hours away. Mm-hmm. And we went and met with them, saw what they were doing, held the product in our hands, had the tangible thing with it, and, saw it working for other people. And it really opens up to and gives you an idea of, well, we could definitely do this, Mm-hmm. And I remember how much of an impact that road trip had on us, just going to a couple of different places, and they used, this piece of equipment, and it took too long to load or it wasn't efficient. And then we found the one facility that was using the conveyors that we actually have now at South Junction. And it was fast. It was efficient. People were happy to go there. They were in and out. It's all about efficiency, So that's when we did it, and we were like, okay, this is the equipment we need, put the whole business plan together as far as, this is the initial investment of the equipment, stuff like that. And that's really when we hit the ground running with it.
So, so again, you have a rail car comes in, it's loaded with grain or whatever, and then you would coordinate with, now is more truck part of this, or you're having people coming in with trucks coordinating, kind of like, hey, have your stuff here, we're going to get it on, then you have your driver take it out?
So a little bit of both. We started working with outside trucking outfits right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. They'd come in, we'd get a schedule, pull in some rail cars. These trucks are going to be here at this date, just like any other business, have a schedule, and started to unload them, get our feet wet with how the equipment worked, how time frames, stuff like that. And for a while, we just loaded other people. And then, you see some of the unprecedented things with the truck. A truck cancels a load or does something like that. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's live. We just roll. So.
And so when we saw some of that stuff, we were like, we think we could add something to this, bring something to the table as far as our own trucking. And if we're doing the other aspect of it, it's, we could schedule it better. So we did end up buying, we had tractor trailers, but we bought a grain trailer so we could haul it ourselves. So now we're unloading it ourselves and hauling it ourselves.
And you have a driver that's doing that, or someone that runs the road?
Yep. We have a couple of drivers, but we have one guy that has been with my family for almost 30 years, and wow, okay. He's irreplaceable. He's great.
So is there a lot of time where you would unload product and just have it sit in the yard for a while? Or usually, is it mostly day of kind of pickup?
Usually the way that we have done things is there's a truck for the load, and it kind of sits in the rail car until you get the truck. It can sit in the rail car until you get the truck, but it's usually kind of hand to mouth with, you got to have the truck to get it out of the rail car. But that kind of lends itself to, you want to have the schedule and you want to keep the rail cars, kind of turning and burning,
And is this Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
For the most part?
Monday through Friday.
And then is that like in a normal, does it vary much, or is it each day you kind of have a set amount of like, hey, we know we're going to have this many each day?
We have a set schedule for a lot of it. Some of it, like some of the stuff we do for Plattsburgh business, if they need a little bit more or need a little bit less, we can kind of tweak it. But, there's people coming in from 6 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. every single day in Plattsburgh.
So you guys are there every time, or you have people now that can manage it most?
Like I said, now we have a guy, Jason, who has been running it for a few years for us, and he's been great.
How is you hear again the news, it's kind of like people that ask me about interest rates and real estate, but you hear about supply chain and stuff. Have you been affected by that at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I chalk it up as kind of some of the trials and tribulations of things that we learned getting into this is a lot of the times some of the supply chain issues, like you said, impact us, but we don't really have anything to do with, but they impact us, like, rail cars getting held up in Canada, or, there's a strike, or, we had a few different strikes where rail cars were sitting for 3 weeks at a time. So now we're not getting rail cars into Plattsburgh. Our customers can't get the product. They have to get the product. So sometimes they have to go get it with trucks or do different things. So yeah,
we've cut you out at that point.
Exactly. We've definitely been impacted by supply chain issues for sure.
I was going to say, and then regarding
fortunately, sorry to interrupt.
No,
fortunately, not horribly.
Yeah.
We've nothing that has crippled us, but we've been lucky.
Now, what about the border closing? Was they still able to get trains and stuff?
Yeah,
through?
that surprisingly, I know what you're talking about. That surprisingly hadn't really affected us that much, as far as, because Canadian Pacific could still get the rail cars
still
through.
Essential or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thankfully that didn't happen, but we definitely did deal with some strikes and different things where the stuff wasn't moving.
So the actual lot itself, like what's, again, like I'm kind of joking, like you drive down, like if I'm going, sneaking out to Bluff at 5:30 in the morning to play golf, if I look over, I typically kind of glance, because I actually had never heard of your company until it won the Small Business Award.
Sure.
And it was just, I'm not in that area. And then I was like, South Junction, where the hell is this place? And like, obviously I know South Junction.
Yeah.
But it's like talk back a little bit, kind of behind the woods and or whatever wall. So I looked, and it looks like there's just a small little building.
Yeah.
So
that building was there when we bought it. It's it's essentially like a scale building where you can weigh the trucks in and out. We got a 70-foot truck scale right there, and bathroom, different area. It's nothing special, but an area where we can do our work in, stuff like that. Our guys can work in, and then when you kind of get, it's kind of hard to see from the road, but when you get further down in, you can kind of see some rail cars, but when you come into the actual rail yard itself, that's when it opens up a real lot and you can actually see what it is. We have that's where our rail cars and our rail spurs are down there.
So how many rail cars typically are in that area at a given time?
So today I got a message from my brother. We had 39 in there right now today, that's a lot for us.
It is
at one time.
Now, where do you think your production, say the 5 or 6 that you went and visited, where does yours stack up in regard to volume?
We're up there now. I'm really thankful to say we're up there now. We started really slow. Our first year, we just did the grain, and we did 70 rail cars our first year, which we were total the whole year, which we were super happy about.
Yeah.
We didn't 0 to 70. You're like, yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we've grown it every year. The second year we had 225.
Wow.
The third year we had 275. The fourth year we had 375, and then we just finished last year. We did 425.
Wow.
So from 70 to 425.
Awesome. So 7X, whatever you had before.
Yeah.
Same amount of, for the most part, same amount of overhead and everything else. Like it stayed pretty consistent, or
for the most part. We've had to hire. We have like a guy that's going to be full time. That's been part time because he's been in school and stuff. But as the commodities kind of grew, and we started getting, doing stuff besides just grain. We needed more help. We needed more equipment. We started with one conveyor, which we bought for the grain ordeal, the grain contract, and now we have 3 conveyors. So, same type of conveyors.
Are you I guess what's the closest rail yard to where you are now?
So there's a spur that people use on the base that is kind of a smaller spur that people can transload on the base, plastics, different things that can be sucked out of rail cars over there. And people, like I was telling you, Galen, people have their own spurs on their own property for their own business. The whole thing of what we wanted to do was offer it to people that don't have a rail siding right alongside their business. But there's plenty of people in Plattsburgh, Mold, right? They utilize their own Georgia Pacific. Different people have their own spurs. They can pull the rail cars right up to their building and offload or load whatever products they want to do right there. But they're not open to other companies.
What typically comes through the rail yard with you guys? Like you said, grain. What other commodities?
So we started doing a lot of cement and sand for Schluter.
Okay.
So we've been working.
That's probably a good partner.
Schluter's been great to work with.
Yeah.
They've grown so much. Their volumes with us have grown a real lot, and we started working with them in the end of 2019, I believe. And everybody knows how much they've grown and what they're able to manufacture down there. And I'm happy to say that we've been a big part of that. So we offer sand and cement for their thin set that they manufacture. Everybody knows them for their Curdy and their showerproof board, stuff like that, their underlayment stuff. But we supply them with the sand and the cement for their thin set that they make.
What's funny? This morning, once a year, I do one career fair a year, and I go to the Saranac Career Fair. That was this morning, and just kind of meet with the kids, and it's kind of it's fun. But we were right next to the girl from Schluter. She was in the HR, and then of course you go look at it, and all these kids are coming through it. And they're kind of looking at it like, what's this company? It's like anything else. You're a 14, 15-year-old kid. You don't care. You want to go to like the army people or the ones with the dogs or something. So just, like these kids come walking over. I'm like, you guys probably don't think this yet, but this stuff's really cool. And like when you understand like how it impacts, well, one, obviously housing and commercial space and stuff like that, but just how it impacts the area. Right. But I saw the concrete stuff that they were talking about. She goes, and so it's kind of cool. Like literally a few hours ago, I was actually like hands-on with the stuff that, like I said, probably passed through you guys and to them, and then they created what they create out of it. So that's cool.
They're somebody that I look up to as far as how they use their products in conjunction with each other, and will warranty them better, or the way that they get out there and support the contractors and how they use their stuff in conjunction with each other, and they get right behind their product, and I think that that's important.
Have you, because again, you had talked about trying to like learn the craft and learn the industry, because it's different, it's a totally different thing. Do you, is that something you've always been able to do, or always take, like you and your brother always wanting to learn? Have you guys always been inquisitive when you were kids, or even as you grew up?
Well, one thing I learned, I'm not sure exactly who taught me. I probably took some from various people that have been in my life that I've looked up to, or mentors or something, is if you're going to talk to somebody about something or do business with them, you got to know what you're talking about. And if it's unloading a rail car or dealing with Canadian Pacific on something, or it's buying scrap metal, or if it's picking up something, or if it's a service you're offering, you have to know what you're talking about. And what better way to learn how to do it yourself than, you can go up to bat for these companies and say, well, they didn't get the service they need on this, or this is the way I would do it. I feel like it's, imperative to know how to do something for somebody, and there's no better way than hands-on, and then you can talk to them about it, and they can appreciate what you do and know what you're talking about.
How long do you think that learning curve was for you guys initially?
For the rail yard, you mean unloading rail cars and stuff?
Yeah.
It happened pretty quick. You have to, I would say, within the first few weeks, we were getting really good at unloading rail cars. Okay. And then, as time goes on, you kind of learn things. One thing that was funny is my brother and I, we pride ourselves on, working down there 6-7 years. We only had to cancel like 2 days, I think, or maybe 3 days. I think it's 2 though. Bitter cold, 20 below. Can't keep the conveyors warm. The fuel's gelling up, and you can't keep running the product through the conveyor because it's just so cold. So we eventually built buildings to keep them warm at night and do different things. But we pride ourselves on not having to cancel a whole bunch of times.
So you're reliable. You're like, yeah, we can count on these guys.
We got the grain to the farms. We got Schluter their products so that they can keep manufacturing what they do, and we take pride in that. I'm
kind of reading through a couple of the, the notes we have on you and stuff. And one of the things I was kind of laughing because there's a lot of cool stuff here. I'm like, I don't know if we'll be able to cover it all, but I'm kind of laughing because I was talking about Gary Douglas coming on before, and he said the North Country Chamber has long said that where things move is where prosperity occurs. And when he came on the podcast, he probably said that 18 times, and he was trying to get to the point where I could mimic it back. I'm like, Gary, I'm not that smart, but I said I appreciate you trying. But he, that's when you kind of go into the overall grand scheme of someone like Gary in the chamber in the North Country and what that cluster they talk about.
Yep.
And they talk about the transportation, they talk about the movement and the supply chain and everything. And you are, I would say, a massive kind of cog, and I don't want to say cog in the wheel. You're a massive point of spoke in that rotating tire. Did you offer something that wasn't here before, or did you offer just a better way of something that was being done?
In my opinion, we offered something that wasn't here before.
Okay.
Because you couldn't go in Plattsburgh, anywhere in Plattsburgh before, and say, hey, I have this bulk product, I want to unload it. There wasn't facilities that were open to bringing stuff in, for private enterprise and unloading it. And I really think that, part of the reason why we developed South Junction was my brother and I had met so many people. We had sold them equipment. My brother had sold them a tractor trailer or sold them an excavator or sold them something, or I had bought scrap metal from them, and we knew all these people from the North Country, and they were going outside of our community to get a bulk commodity, whether it was the Port of Albany, the Port of Ogdensburg, a different township over in Montreal, and then they bring it back into the community to manufacture whatever they're doing or utilize it for their business. And we said, we can keep that in the community. We can keep that commerce local.
Yeah.
Having a rail yard really fits the industrial growth of a region. I think you kind of said it before. It's a big part of that.
Well, you said that the rail cars, just by volume, can move more quicker just because of the load they can carry.
Right. Well, there's 3.5 tractor trailer, 3 to 3.5 tractor trailer loads in a rail car. So,
that's one rail car.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So in the trucking world, 30 ton to maybe 32, 33 ton in a tractor trailer. A rail car is 100 ton. So it doesn't necessarily work for everybody if you're not on a larger volume, but if you're moving volume, it's the way to go.
So one of those rail cars, I'm assuming that's like one car on a string of rail cars coming in. So how much would come in at one time if you're using that kind of ratio or volume?
How much do we bring in at one time? Or how much are you saying comes into a certain area, like Plattsburgh or something like that?
Well, like one time, so like one shipment. How many cars, like rail cars, would be on that?
Sometimes so all the rail cars that come into Plattsburgh go to Bluff Point.
Okay.
Down at Bluff Point is the CP yard that they set off all the cars for Plattsburgh. Whether they're coming down to us at South Junction, or they're going over to GP, or they're going to Moldwright, or they're going to the, that other spur on the base. No matter what, whoever's getting rail cars in Plattsburgh gets going there. Sometimes it can be 30 cars. Sometimes it can be a few cars. It all depends on who's moving what and what their needs are. But all the stuff goes into Bluff Point down there. It could be a lot.
So how typically, if you were to unload one car, how long would that take typically? Then again, I know it depends on the product, but
it does.
Average.
So if we have the truck sitting there and we can unload a rail car in 45 minutes, probably.
Wow,
it doesn't take very long. If the rail car is set up, we have our equipment conveyors. We unload a tractor trailer load in 15 to 20 minutes. So,
and what was the process of the whole unloading from start to finish, or
so
maybe just even a?
Yeah, so some people do it differently. Some people have different setups for how they unload rail cars. What we do is we have portable conveyors, so the rail cars don't really move. Our equipment moves to the rail car. So, in between the top of the rail and the bottom of the car, there's a space. this conveyor system that we use has a long tail. So you pull it in and it goes in between the bottom of the rail car and the top of the rail. You open the car door, kind of gravity fed. It falls on the belt of the conveyor, conveys it up, and loads the tractor trailer. That's really how we do it.
Okay.
So we have 3 of those conveyors now. We started with 1.
So you can do 3 at a time then.
We could actually unload 3. We could load 3 tractor trailers at one time if we wanted to.
Do you normally do that, or is that?
Sometimes we do.
Okay.
Sometimes we're doing 2. Sometimes we're only doing 1, but we're usually always now doing at least pretty close to 2.
And that does that? I'm assuming it takes 2 people to do that.
Yeah.
1 person per. Okay.
Yep.
Now more recycling is that just for recycling? Is there trash also? Or is it just strictly the recycling portion?
Pretty much everything that we do at More Recycling is for the most part metal. We don't do refuse or trash recycling. You know, we're not a garbage company, but we do offer roll-off boxes for construction debris for carpenters, stuff like that. You know, stuff that would normally go to the landfill.
It's strictly scrap metal.
For the most part, yeah.
Now, the process of scrap metal, like with that, give us kind of the rundown of how that would work.
Sure. So More Recycling offers residential and commercial scrap metal recycling services from, you know, everybody from, you know, the guy looking to get rid of his old washer that, you know, crapped the bed and he needs to get rid of it, and he'll call us and we'll help him, you know, recycle that to we have I'm proud to say we have a lot of the commercial scrap recycling in Plattsburgh, you know, from some of the bigger people like Bombardier, Nova Bus, Jefford Steel, you know, a lot of the commercial scrap people who will go through a lot more scrap metal, and they're looking for more of like a refined kind of scrap, you know, recycling kind of setup. We kind of custom fit different scrap procedures to how they, you know, get rid of stuff, you know.
So
a lot of it's roll-off boxes.
So when you talk about like recycling scrap metal, like what's that turn into? Where does it go? How do you dispose of it?
Sure. So a lot of the stuff, the gist of the stuff that we get comes into our yard in Keysville. We process it. We either cut it up, we crush it up, we bale it. However, whether it's just cutting it up and boxing it up, and then we bring it to different shredders, whether it's the Port of Albany. We go to different states besides New York. We've gone to Montreal in the past. They accept the scrap metal from us. They shred it up. Sometimes they process it a little bit, and it's, you know, either sold domestically for steel mills, you know, in the United States or Canada. A lot of it goes for export. So some of it will go to China, Turkey, stuff like that. They'll load big ships, and essentially the whole cycle is it's eventually turned into something else, right? So, you know, it'll be scrapped for another car or made for other appliances, or, you know, rebar or something for, you know, industrial buildings, stuff like that.
So has it always been consistent from when your grandfather was there, or has it evolved? Has it changed? Have you taken on new?
Well, you know all the good questions. I was
getting you thinking. Just
no, I was
seeing if you're awake in the afternoon.
I was thinking you were going to ask stuff like that. So. My grandfather had always recycled all different kinds of scrap metal and was able to take anything, but it has evolved, in the last, you know, definitely 10 to 15 years, but let's say 20 years, it's evolved a lot. He did more of car crushing. So, you know, you have a scrap yard or a towing facility, you got 200 cars here, and your uncle lives on the other side of the state and he's got 1,000 cars, you know, and he would take his mobile car crusher to your place. He would go crush up your cars. Then he would move the equipment, the loader, car crusher, to another guy's and crush his, and he would go all over. And he was really known for mobile car crushing. That was kind of his claim to fame. And he was very good at it. Our thing, since my brother and I have kind of got more into it, is we kind of do more of the roll-off box service. So, you know, you'll see our cans around. When I say cans, dumpsters, containers, they'll say our name in the side. People throw scrap metal in them, and then they'll call us when it's full, and we have a rotating, revolving schedule. We pick them up, bring them back to our facility, weigh them on our certified scales. Sometimes it's all a one thing. Sometimes we'll sort it for people. We offer a lot of sorting services for different companies and customers, and, you know, then we'll, you know, sort it out, put it in different places, process it, whatever the necessary processing is for that type of scrap metal, and then it will go on to its next place. And that's kind of what's changed for us. Is he did some roll off boxes, but we probably have over 100 boxes, maybe 150 boxes around the country.
Out and about now. Do you still do the mobile car crushing?
We don't do that. The only thing we really do now is we crush cars at our facility, because we can keep it clean. There's definitely some environmental restrictions as far as going onto someone else's property that you're not sure, what happened there before you got there. Liability incurred with that. So what we do now is if we buy cars from people, we generally bring it to our place and then
probably more efficient too.
It is because we've got it set up exactly the way that we like. But I would have to say that's kind of how it's changed for us. Also, so there's two parts of scrap metal. There's ferrous and non-ferrous. So ferrous is anything that a magnet would stick to: steel, an old car, a washer and dryer, cast iron radiator. That's ferrous. Non-ferrous is something that a magnet wouldn't stick to. So copper, aluminum, brass, stainless steel. Usually it's worth a little bit more. Non-ferrous stuff is kind of where I kind of started when I was younger, working for my grandfather, and I was getting my feet wet into that. And I knew that was going to be something kind of bigger in the future. When I was a kid, copper was worth 25 cents a pound.
Yeah.
And, now copper's worth $3 a pound, so that's something that he didn't mess around with as much. He always bought that stuff, but it's definitely become a lot more prevalent, in my brother and I's time.
So when he started, was it a one-person operation?
Yeah, no, he had tons of guys. He had different crews and stuff. He kind of got his feet wet. He first started with hauling ash logs, and they would make shearwood hockey sticks out of them in Canada.
Okay, yeah.
He started with that, and then he was a wheeler dealer. He bought and sold cars. He was a Land Rover dealer. He bought and sold military equipment. When he was in the services, he didn't actually serve in the war, but he was in basic training when the war ended, and he fell in love with military vehicles and all-wheel drive vehicles, and he wanted to be a trucker when he was a kid. So when he got out, he kind of got his start kind of dabbling in all these different things, and he was successful in them. But scrap metal is really where he shined, and the 70s, 80s, and 90s is when he did very well with scrap metal.
So your grandfather, was your great-grandfather entrepreneurial? Do you know?
I don't really know too much about
usually
that.
when you start getting the great, it's like,
yeah,
it's a little fuzzy on how much you know him.
Not that I know of. He definitely, my grandfather didn't have anything when he was younger, and he definitely made his own mark.
And that just kind of like passed through generations?
Yeah. So my mother, Carolyn, worked with my grandfather for many years when she was, came of age to work in the family business. So she was kind of like the intermediary middle generation between my brother and I and my grandfather. And then she worked in the business for many, many years, and actually just retired last year.
Oh, I'm good for her.
Yeah.
She's probably like, the boys got it now, right?
No, I learned so much from my mom over the years. She was very, very smart individual. And, I was lucky to get to work with my aunts and uncles and different stuff. So some of my family kind of came and went, worked with my grandfather, with my mom, and a lot of them have, gone on to have very successful other businesses for themselves.
Do you think you're more like your grandfather or your mom? Or are you guys all kind of the same, cut from the same cloth?
I think sometimes I'm a little bit more like my mother, and I think sometimes my brother's maybe a little bit more like my grandfather, but I think anybody would say we definitely have aspects of some of all of them. Yeah.
How long did you work with your grandfather for?
So, I mean, I was working with him when I was in high school, but definitely more full-time when I got out of high school. I went to Clinton Community College for a few years and studied business, and he was a big proponent in that. And, getting some some college schooling and stuff. He said he could have always done a lot better with that, and he wanted. My brother wasn't much on wanting to do anything for college, so he definitely wanted me to get some training with that. And that's when I really started, sucking up a lot of information from him, and business and how commodities were traded and how he worked with different people and did deals. I think that's a lot of where my brother and I both, learned a lot from him in that regard.
I find when you learn from, like, if people always ask me to get in real estate, I'm like, you got step one, you find a mentor. That's your easiest way to learn in any business.
Absolutely.
Step one is you find someone who's already done it, figure it out, shorten the learning curve.
Yeah.
I also find, though, that someone like your grandfather, like, he's teaching you kind of, I say, like, the scrap metal 101 or whatever that might be, but you can learn that probably pretty quickly. The thing I find with mentors is you start to get into all the nuanced stuff, the very small details, the connections, the connecting of the dots of all, like, how everything works. Because a lot of things are simplistic, and then I find they get complex. And then I think the really smart people are the ones that can take a simplistic, once it goes from simplistic to complex, the really smart individuals to me are the ones that can take the complex and simplify it back down.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that
absolutely.
And again, I'm kind of curious to see how you think about this, but I would think that you gained a lot from your grandfather because he was able to see decades of trends and decades of connections, but also realize, like, all this stuff can get kind of crazy and chaotic, and, like, the stuff just that people see, and really, if you simplify things down to the basic parts or the basic, I guess, main pillars of the business, and you really focus on that, you do. Right. It's kind of like I read this analogy a month or two ago, that most people, if you take a problem or you take something that you want to solve and you attribute it to a tree, that the roots in the trunk and everything like that is really the stem of the main issue. But most people, what do? They cut back the branches. Right. And you're really not going to the heart of the problem, where I think someone, again, kind of the analogy aspect, if your grandfather was, you maybe being a young kid or kind of not having the world experience to kind of, like, you might be looking at the branches, and where I find that my guess is that your grandfather was very much down in the roots, but learning that stuff from him, I'm guessing based on kind of the experience you guys have, and again, this is just a very broad statement, that you guys are probably getting really good at simplifying a lot of crazy technical parts.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to look at everything. One thing he taught me is, things can be huge, things can be big, you can overthink something, but come back down to common sense first. Does it make common sense? If it makes common sense, okay, well, then you can, like you were saying, branch out, open your mind up to, different opportunities, or, well, is this going to make common sense? Okay, well, you can take it to the next step. But I think, I agree with you 100%. In a nutshell, another thing you were saying, getting to the root or the problem, is my mom has taught me too, you don't dance around something. If you have a problem, deal with it face on. And then you get the respect of your customers, you get your respect of your clients. I mean, I'm sure all the time in the field that you have to do, not all news is good news. No. And I think sometimes, one thing I always think about that he said, one of his quotes, and I like this, when he says, business is, a series of obstacles, and your success is determined by how well you overcome those obstacles. Everybody's going to have, you're living it up when you're doing great, you're selling, or, you're buying a whole bunch of stuff. But, really, I think people would measure the success of a person sometimes by how they overcome problems, or how they overcome obstacles. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I always remembered that when he said that. So I think that kind of lends itself to kind of what you were saying before. And just to touch on what you were saying before about mentors, I mean, I agree 100%. He was definitely probably one of my biggest mentors, as well as my mom and, my dad and my aunts and uncles. My aunts and uncles are really hardworking people, but mentors can be many things. We were talking about, Gary and Sue in the chamber. Yeah. They're great people. They have been, huge proponents for what we're doing at the rail yard, and become great friends over the years for my brother and I. I think before, when we were just doing more recycling, we were just working so much. We weren't getting out a lot, we weren't getting out to chamber events, and we weren't we just weren't taking the time to do it. We were busy. And in the last 5 or 6 years, since we started, trying to participate and actually be a bigger part of the community, they've been great contacts. I look up to people like them so much.
Yeah, I think. I've always said before. I think if North Country had a Mount Rushmore, Gary's on.
Yeah, on I heard somewhere. You say that another one. I think.
Yeah, and I think, but I know it was. We went the other day to the governor came up and spoke and had this thing at Nova Bus and you sit there and like the governor's the governor or like whatever. Anytime someone's a governor, they're used to speaking in front of crowds and everything else. For sure. She went up and did her speech and whatever. And then I was kind of like, all of a sudden, Gary just gets up, takes the mic, and Gary just like drops the mic on everybody. And I find that, I think we're very lucky to have Gary, because I think Gary, there's certain people that don't move that are just like, I think that the thing that with the North Country, it's like the people. There's like an underdogness to the North Country, but there's also the idea that a lot of people in the North Country are just hard, like resilient people. Yeah. And I find that in order, that can only go so far, and you need to have some of those like all-star players that are just unwilling to leave the team. You just need you need that like the person that's going to stay on the team for 20 years and never get traded. For sure. And I feel like Gary's kind of one of those guys. Like he came to the area, and then I feel like Gary could probably have opportunities far beyond where we are now. And he's kind of like, no, this is like my squad. This is my team. Absolutely. And when I look at people like that, because one, that's a lot of respect, because you could take someone that, it's two things. Like I find that, and this is not the shit on these kind of people, but how many people do we know go to college, get a job, and then just like, all right, peace out. I'm going to go somewhere else. There's jobs, there's opportunities. And I kind of look at them like, wouldn't it be cool just to like create that stuff locally? And that's kind of what I think draws me to you guys, is that I think that's you guys are born, raised here, and kind of saying like, hey, we're gonna like, our roots are here, but we're going deeper with the roots, and we're gonna make more from whatever we do.
I agree on so many levels with what you just said. North Country people are very resilient, very hardworking, and I have so much respect for so many of the businesses around here, as far as just who they are, their work ethic. And I remember when I was younger, he would say, he's been to a lot of, he was big. One of his favorite things, he was a very avid traveler. He liked to travel with my grandmother, and he would go to these beautiful places in the world, but he always loved coming back to the North Country. And, he loved the Adirondack Mountains. He loved all that. And I feel that same way now that I'm older. I love the North Country. It's fun to go on a vacation. You're excited to come back. And speaking to some of the other stuff you said about, the chamber and having these people fight for you, I can firsthand tell you that those people have fought for us and for the North Country business. One thing that happened to us with South Junction is, so a couple of years ago, Canadian Pacific Rail tried to kind of shorten the service schedule for Plattsburgh. I don't think it was anything necessarily intentional from an initial standpoint to hurt anybody. But they're servicing some huge areas, Toronto, Buffalo, massive places that, Plattsburgh doesn't, while it's very important to them, it's not on that level. So for instance, they try to shorten the service schedule. So we get rail cars, the availability to have rail cars in and out. Full ones take the empties out 5 days a week. And we got an email that said, they're going down to 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that was a big deal. We were like, oh man.
How much of that business was from CP?
As far
Canadian,
as
like the rail, like how much, when you say going down from 5 to 3 days a week, is that's
all them. So
that's everybody.
Yeah. So everybody in Plattsburgh.
So this was a 40% drop right off the face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the cars come in from the main line, and then they come into Plattsburgh. They push off Plattsburgh's rail cars, and then they keep going down to Saratoga, Albany. Then you have a local crew that has a local locomotive, just uses around Plattsburgh, and then they push the stuff into South Junction, and they go over to Mold Right and push it. So they said, well, you're going down to 3 days a week. And I said, wow, that's really going to hurt our opportunity that we can offer businesses like Schluter, businesses like, these farms and stuff. So I was kind of like, drawing up some stuff in my head and contemplating what the next move was going to be. And before we could even do anything, they went down to 2 days a week. So it was
Wow.
Tuesday, Thursday. So immediately I reached out to Gary in the chamber, and they were great. We got together with some other local businesses, Moldrite, Salerno. We had some really good friends over at Schluter that came over and worked with us, and we kind of formed like a little local coalition and said, hey, Plattsburgh's really important. We need to get this service back. We had a series of meetings. We had some local officials that went up to bat for us, wrote letters, came out to the rail yard, came to Plattsburgh to support for us. And, we were really happy to, report that we got full 5-day service back when they tried to go to 2-day service. So that was just one example of like, I was kind of piggybacking off what you said about, Sue and Gary and these people. They're not just people in positions. They really care about North Country business,
Yeah.
And I can account for that.
So and again, if they didn't do that, you just think that most likely never would have happened.
I mean, I know all I can speak of is firsthand is it would have totally. It might have been the nail in the coffin for South Junction as far as I don't know if it would have closed us. I think it would have definitely hurt our, what we're able to offer people, when you can only get stuff in and out 2 days a week as opposed to 5.
A massive trickle down effect.
Yeah.
Like I said,
for sure.
Those other people coming in.
For sure. And so, that was a huge win. I have people that we've talked to that are in rail that introduced me to a lot of people. And they said, well, you're not gonna win against CP. They're so big. And I said, well, we're gonna try.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, we had so much support from the North Country Chamber of Commerce on that. We had letters of support. People, local people had worked up for us, and we went to them and said, here, this is what we need. And business is growing. I mean, just with South Junction, but there's other local businesses who my brother and I in South Junction don't work with, but we were banding together with them to say, hey, we got to have this service. And that's just one thing that the North Country Chamber of Commerce was great with.
Well, I mean, again, Gary quotes all the time, punching above your weight. And I think that's something that obviously he's made kind of a career off of that. Of just
Absolutely.
Basically just rolling in like he owns the place. And
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it just comes down to the presence. And he's talked about, you physically have to be there. He travels a lot, but he's like, I'm going to show my face. I'm going to be there. And it's not just kind of, hey, I'll send an email out, but it's, and it goes a long ways. And I think, hey, I've just recently have gotten, have seen that. Now, granted, the other thing is we don't, from a real estate perspective, we don't really work with the chamber that often. I mean, but when I look at companies and hear you and other people have talked about it, it's like, okay, so then you can start connecting the dots and really see that there's, a very strong, network that's kind of tied in. And again, at the thing this morning, the girl comes up from Schluter and she's asking me questions about real estate, but then it's like in turn, you turn back and ask them questions because everything's interconnected.
Right.
And it's like, and how is my business affecting your business? And how is your business affecting my business? And that's one of the things I like bringing different industries on when I talk to people, because like, I don't know a whole lot about this. I mean, I know what it is, but not a whole lot. So like understanding the nuances and kind of the situation that you're in and saying, okay, connect the dots, like that makes sense. And this, and I find that just trying to understand, kind of like the machine of the North Country and how it works. And I would say that the transportation hub is our bread and butter when it comes to the jobs, comes to the traction, and it comes to that. So now, do you guys have any, I mean, obviously 3 businesses now. Has there been other opportunities that you've looked at, or you think that could come from what you're doing that you can share? Obviously, there's some that are in the boiler room. We don't want to.
No, we've always got a couple more irons in the fire as far as different things that we want to do. But I think that the most part of what we're really trying to aim for is to grow more at South Junction. We just got a grant earlier this year. To build more at the rail yard, which I was really, really happy that we were awarded. Continue to offer our expanded services at more recycling for, residential, commercial, scrap metal recycling services. And then, of course, with this new endeavor, more recycling, offer better trucking services for some of these local businesses that we're offering that trucking for. And, so a lot of what we do is kind of handling stuff so people can do what they do best, whether it's getting you bulk commodities so that, you guys don't have to worry about that, and you can manufacture your product. And right now your product's flying off the shelf. We want to help you guys so you don't have to worry about that. Or, if it's trucking, giving you guys trucks that are going to show up on the job and you're going to get the job done. You don't have to worry about, having a lack of trucking or your material not getting there. We like to handle stuff like that for other people. But we've got a great staff of people, and we're trying to obviously expand our services.
Would you consider yourself a strategic person?
For sure, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you ever shut your mind off, or is it always running? I know the people running business. It's
hard. Yeah, it's really hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that everybody kind of struggles with their own battles. I call it the balance. It doesn't matter if you're, selling homes, doing real estate like what you do, doing scrap metal, doing the rail yard thing. It's the balance. It's what's a good balance of work life, family life, personal. You shut the light switch off, you're not working anymore. Mm-hmm. And then people have to have independent, Galen, Troy, you have to feel good about yourself independently and do stuff for yourself. And I tell people all the time, no matter what you're doing, it's the balance, where's your balancing point? What's too much work? What's not enough family? What's too much, not enough.
Do you think you're good at it, or?
I'm learning.
Yeah. Cause you got a new baby.
I'm learning, having a baby,
or say new baby, but toddler.
Yeah. So, I'm lucky enough. My wife works with my brother and I in both of our businesses, all three of our businesses. And so I get to see her a lot. So that's awesome. And I think that helps a little bit sometimes, but, you've got 3 children, having a child really, it opens your mind up to a lot of other things. And, I definitely want to spend a lot of time with my child and hopefully children in the future. And, just opening yourself up to just trying to do your best when you're working and you're doing your thing, but when you're off hours too, feeling success in that, and that's really what I mean with the balance. And, I'm trying to get better at time management. I feel like there's always something you can be doing. Somebody tells me the other day, the first hour you wake up is your best hour for thinking and planning out your day, doing whatever you're doing. So now I'm like, as soon as I wake up, I want to do something really good in my first hour, whether it's just planning the rest of my day or doing something in that first hour. So it's like, now I feel like if somebody's told me that, I'm like, if my first hour isn't either planning or really good, I feel like I'm wasting it,
Well, it's kind of the idea that I find that as I've gotten busier, and again, I kind of alluded to before, is that idea that when you're starting out, you're learning the basics. Mm-hmm. Then everything gets very chaotic.
Right.
And then I've been spending so much of time lately trying to simplify things down, because while getting complex and crazy and stuff is good, because you've earned it and you've brought on that success and you brought on those opportunities. Mm-hmm. At some point, you're human. You only have 24 hours in a day.
That's right.
And you have, and again, as things grow and your family grows, so it's like, okay, I'm just going to keep piling on stuff, in my life. Mm-hmm. But my time allocation is still the same, or my allotment is still the same.
Right.
How do I allocate that time?
Right.
And I spend a lot of time on just straight up efficiency and trying to be efficient and trying to manage time. And then there's always that parenting guilt of like, I know I need to spend time, but then it's also like, if I go do some work and I don't spend time with my kid, am I a bad father? Like, should I just be here? And then part of me is like, that stuff will never get done if I don't take care of it now. So you're in this, and lately I've been really diving in. Have you ever heard of it? I got the book behind me, but the 80-20 principle.
I have.
So I've been like super, super into efficiency and models and kind of thinking outside the box of like, how do I become more efficient, or how do I put focus on stuff that actually matters, and how do I take time that I know I can't get this stuff and be okay with it not getting done. Right. And for me, and I'm guessing for you, something not getting done like might stress you out or bring on anxiety of like, I should be getting to that, but can I just not do it today and push it off? And then it like is almost like that devil on your shoulder of like, get it done, get it done, get it done. And so it's been tough. And one of the things I heard the other day, to simplify it, and I'm going to ask you this because I think this would be kind of cool to see in your world. If you were to have a heart attack, so this is it's just hypothetical. This is hypothetical.
I love the way that started.
Yes, hypothetical. So don't look. But if you were to have a heart attack and could only work 2 hours a day, what would you do?
Wow.
And what happens is it expands your mind, because normally, like, and this is what I talk about being in the, like, almost too much in it. Mm-hmm. If you were like too much in the weeds and too much in your day, and then you said, but listen, like, we kind of did this a little bit through COVID. Like, you only have 2 hours a day.
Right.
What would you do? Well, all of a sudden you go to the really essential parts of your business, or what would have the greatest scale.
Right.
And what it does is it really allows you to kind of prioritize stuff and say, wow, I didn't even really think about that. Should I even be doing that anymore?
Right.
And you do it because maybe it's a habit. Maybe you've been doing it for years. But then you think, does it really matter?
So you feel like that has totally had an impact on, since reading that or going over that, how you spend your time or how you look at things?
Yeah, I mean, it's that question is fairly new. Meaning, I've heard that question. This is just something I heard in the last week. Now, I've been processing it for about 6 to 8 months. A lot of this stuff, but as you keep peeling back the layers of the onion, there you start getting deeper and deeper, and you start kind of opening new doors and new thought process. And someone asked my business coach the other day. I was talking to her, and she's trying to, like, okay, I want to make systems. I want to get better and implement the systems at a better rate. And she goes, well, build it out for 100 people. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't really want 100 people. She goes, well, no, you just pretend you're building it out for 100 people. Like, what would actually have to happen? And just her saying that, my mind went from, like, it just expands. It's like a paradigm shift. You expand your thinking to, like, a much wider base. I'm like, oh, okay. It almost feels clearer a little bit. And that's kind of the idea with the 2 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. The next question was, if you had a second heart attack, what would you do in only 2 hours in a week? So it goes, but
that's hard.
But it's really forcing you, because it's not against it's kind of against the grain.
Right.
Like, you have stuff you do every day, and obviously, I'm saying you're running 3 companies, and how many employees do you have overall?
We are up to about 22 employees now. 22, 23, I believe.
So you take that, you take your family, how many people are you directly responsible for? Because that adds pressure, that adds weight, that adds, like, the idea of, like, I can't really slack off, because even though I'm my own boss, quote unquote, like, you have 22, and I'll count your family, I'll count your friend, like, you have people that rely on you, and that's and that can weigh heavy, and really the idea of, if you're the top person, it's lonely at the top, because there's nobody to point the finger at. There's nobody. You take the blame when shit hits the fan.
That's right. You're
responsible for everything. Like, and I find that trying to put stuff into perspective in order to not self-implode is really what I'm kind of looking at. It's not that I'm going to self-implode. It's the idea that I'm trying to set myself up, because I can see the writing on the wall. I have kids. They're going to get older. I'm going to get older. I'm going to, like, all these things that I'm thinking, like, way down the road, but I'm trying to get better at now. Kind of like you said, like, learning, like, not really learning a new industry, but learning how to be more efficient.
Right. I think that time management is you had mentioned it before, is a huge part of it. So, like, you can look at it like this. Like, now I feel like time management for me is, if I didn't get something done before 5 o'clock I could stay till 5:30 or stay till 6, or, if you had to stay a lot later to get the job done. But it's almost like more important to say, well, at 5 o'clock, I got to go home and spend time with my family now. So, that time management, is that going to make you, try to crunch a whole bunch more stuff in? You're going to get it done. Oh, well, I got to go home at 5 to be with my family, so I'm going to get this done, And I think that's something that I've learned a lot about, is since I tried to, want to sit down and eat dinner with my family. We try to do little things like that. You can get more out of yourself if you motivate yourself to kind of do better. And it's not about what's the total amount of work that you get done in a day. Did you sign this deal? Did you push something off a day? It's like, here's my time frame. Let me think about it. How do I measure? How is this measurable? And what can I get done in that amount of time, so that I'm still home with my family and I'm not missing out something really important there?
And I think, now, first off, is that easy or hard for you to do?
It's getting easier. It's been tougher in the past for me. So my brother and I run businesses where people, you know, they text you anytime. They text you at night. I'm sure you probably get stuff like that too. And you're like, you know, I don't want to lose the deal. I don't want to, you know, ignore them till tomorrow, but you know, I'm home with my family now. Do I want them to wait until, you know, tomorrow? Or, you know, different things happen. It's all how you respond to it.
Do you set boundaries? Are you good at that?
I feel like you're hitting all the spots. I'm trying to get better at that, because I want my people, you know, that I work with to know that they're very important to me, but I also want to let them know that my family's important to me, and you can literally get a hold of me from 6 o'clock in the morning till 5, or maybe I'll even squeeze till 6 o'clock at night. But the other 12 hours, don't don't text me or call me, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I think you it's a priority too. And I had someone text me at 8 o'clock last night. I pinned it. Yeah. Texted them at 9 o'clock this morning. It was fine. Like it's.
I'm starting to do more of that too.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll get you an answer in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, just punt it.
Yeah. Or, you know, in a respectful way, say, hey, this is what I can do. Let me look at it in the morning. I'll get back to you. You know, it's not black and white. You don't have to say, well, I'm just not going to text them back. It takes, you know, a minute to get back to them, and you can fully, you know, go over it in the morning, or if it's on a Sunday or something like that. And I think that kind of lends itself and goes back to that balance thing, you know, what's that good, you want to be happy at home too, kind of thing, you know?
Well, and I think the idea of, I've heard this recently too, that like rest is the basis for all activity. Like and the problem is when you're someone that goes, and I had this a mentor of mine say the same thing. He goes, Galen, he goes, you work really hard, right? And I said, I'd like to think so, but yeah, I said, I don't really shut off much. I'm kind of go from morning to night. He goes, and I bet you do a good job at it and you're really into it. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, so the weekend, he goes, why don't you go that hard on rest? And in my head, I was like, well, there's just always stuff to do. He goes, right. Yeah, but he goes, you go really hard when you're on. He goes, why don't you go really hard when you're off? Right. That's what's going to happen. And again, this is something I'm like trying to get into.
No, I love this. Keep going.
Is the idea that you're human, but you physically can only take so much. So if you just beat yourself down,
right.
And then, because what's going to happen, most likely, I'm guessing that you don't let rest creep into your workday too often.
No, definitely not.
And that's the thing. So it's like we allow work to creep into our rest, but we don't allow rest to creep into our work. That's a good way to put it. And it's tough. I'm not saying like I'm not saying like I've mastered this, but this is something I always, you know when they always say the first step of like a first step of like a problem or recovery is admitting you have a problem. And I think that admitting, like, part of me is like, I always think it's a big win when I can just identify there's a problem.
For sure.
Because I know what to fix. So then the idea of like, I will, you know, I'm getting better at evenings, like not checking email. I'm getting better evenings of just kind of like, I will wait till tomorrow. Because I want to have that decompress time at night.
That's important.
But the thing is, like, we know that, we talk about it. We like weekends, like we get it, but then I'm human. My mind doesn't shut off. I'm taking notes. I'm reading. I'm not going to do anything today. Next thing you know, I'm like reading articles online about learning something. I'm like, just stop thinking. Like, just like chill, grab a cup of coffee, and watch just watch like a game on TV.
Right.
But it's tough because you've built up this. I'm going to call it like, you know, scar tissue, but like work over years of like, that's just what I did, and I just worked hard and I just grinded.
Right.
And then what happens? You get married, you have kids, and now priority takes over, and it's almost like teaching an old dog new tricks. You're trying to like relearn something that's so ingrained in you, which for you, by the sounds of it, you were working as a young kid, you know, and you've been working probably at this point 30 years, you know, and you're in your 30s and been working probably 30 years, that you've just ingrained this like work ethic, this just go, just grind it out, make it happen. And then it gets to the point where it's like, you got to almost like pull the reins back a little bit, and it's not natural. That's what make it hard.
I think that, you know, any man or woman that's our age, that's, you know, what we would think is in their best working years, you know, you know, grinding, I call it, you know, you're grinding, and something happens, like you start a family or something happens, and you're just in a mode, kind of like what you said, you're in a mode where you've just been working. Last year or a couple of years ago, it was okay if you worked a couple hours later, and now you're in that mode. And now, you used to work till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you were doing something hands-on on the job, and maybe 6 to 7 o'clock was when you checked some emails or did some stuff before. But it's different now. You've got kids, you've got, t-ball practice or ballet or something. And I can't speak yet from that, but I see my friends and it's hard. You have to pick your battles. And that's kind of why I feel like communication is so important. Knowing your own self-worth and what you can bring to the table, time management, like we talked about, reaching out to your peers, reading books, doing things where, you can kind of find that new norm for you if you're a parent and you're working that much. And stuff is different and stuff changes, and that's okay, and people will understand that about you. As long as when you're working and you're back to that mode and, your kids are at school, you're at daycare, your wife's doing something different, or your husband's doing something different, you're back in that mode and people know you for who you are,
The hardest part, I think, is the crazy thing is, like, the only person that has to be okay with it is myself, and that's the hardest person to convince.
You're your hardest critic.
Yeah, and you're like, can I, I should say no to this, and I should say no to this, but I'm so ingrained as no, I can do it. And then you realize, like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I just can't do it at the level that I can, because I'm sacrificing. And my thing is, I'm not going to, really try not to sacrifice family time. So then I just purely sacrifice, I would say health, but just like sleep, just the stuff you should be doing, to keep yourself, to keep the engine going. And you're just like, I'll just burn it at both ends. We'll figure it out. And then it's like, no, we're blowing, black smoke's coming out, and we're going.
We'll see how it comes out on the other side.
Yeah, we better let's get lucky here. So I think that's just something that I look at people like you and that just anybody that's an entrepreneur. It's one of the most rewarding, but it's one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. And I think that anybody and there's all different kinds of people out there, but I find that people that are entrepreneurial, we all, even different companies, you all share a commonality.
Absolutely.
And anytime I see someone that runs their own business, I have a ton of respect for it. I might not know your business, but I know there's a lot of things you and I both have to do or have to deal with on a daily, weekly basis out in the open, and then internally, because like I said, you're in your head all day long, and it's like it gets challenging, but it also I'm like, other people are going through this shit. Which does allow me to kind of relax a little bit.
I think some of the things that help me out too is, I can talk to people. Mm-hmm. I think having a good support group is really important. People that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of, whether it's friends or, just having something like this, where you can talk to somebody. I have a couple really good friends that own businesses. They do their own thing. And I can kind of, unfortunately, it's hard when you have a family. You don't get together with them as much but just, you've got those friends where you haven't seen them in a month or two, and you get a couple hours. You guys have a beer, sit down, go to a game, watch a game, or do something, and you just fall right back into the friends, and you can vent a little bit. I think that's important. One of my best friends, we get together and we'll have an IPA or something like that, and we'll talk about work, and he can vent a little bit, I can vent a little bit, and it's sometimes not putting that stress or that conversation on your significant other. Not that they couldn't handle it, but when you're, you want to get your venting out, and you want to get your discussion or anxiety or whatever out, and so what you're back with your husband or your wife, and it's positive. You don't have to vent to them, It's good to have a good support group, right?
Yeah.
So I think about that a lot too, having people that you can talk to. Super important. That's one other thing I've learned. So we talked about the time management thing before. Now I'm thinking about, feeling good about no matter what you accomplished in your day or what you didn't accomplish, what got done or whatnot, just talking to somebody, and saying, well, man, I feel really good to kind of talk to somebody, get that off my chest. And they're going through some of the same issues that I am, going to, business after hours or stuff like that. I'm trying to do more of that stuff because there's so much stress in your normal day of what you do. Not that it's not enjoyable. I love what I do. But going to something where you're just, networking and meeting other people. I've heard you talk about this on your podcast several times. Just going out and talking to people, feels good,
Yeah. Well, I think the after hours, the benefit of the after hours is it's like-minded people. So it's like you go and again, I don't go as much as I would like just because of the family stuff. Because they start at 5:30 and it's, we're actually hosting July.
Oh, sweet.
Us and like a couple people in the building. So I don't know where it's going to be. We're it's like anything else. You're winging it. We'll figure it out that day.
An hour before. No.
Yeah. I have other people helping me with it. So, but it's so that'd be fun. But like same thing, you go and you meet people and there's twofold. You meet new people and then you just go and see some friends. And I find that, I've been going long enough and you've met a lot of them are really good friends of mine. So you just sit there and have a beer. And
absolutely.
The last one they had, last one I went to, it was at, Adam Crossley at all? Cross Country Mortgage. So he's a good buddy of mine, but we ended up going there, and I kind of joked. It's my first one I've been to in a while, and I probably moved about the distance of this table, like in a semicircle, and probably talked to 40 people. Because you just knew everybody. You kind of get to see people, and it was fun, but it was like a reunion, and you got to shoot the shit, and it was just a very laid back, and it's at night, and the thing is with, as you know, we talk about getting up, and depending on what time you get up in the morning, like, you might think better, but... And I don't discount, but I'm saying like you kind of want to just be alone in the morning and do your thing. So like your brain's firing, but there's like I want my coffee. I want to just kind of chill and like kind of ease into the day.
Yeah.
And then the after hours, like I want to ease out, but I want a little bit of that a little more fun, a little more laid back. Kind of just decompress from the day. And I find that when people talk about business, like a lot of, and as you know, like it's relationships. And I mean, you made a good point with the chamber and everything else. Like. Say you didn't really know Gary or you didn't know Sue and you called them up. It's way different than them calling you up and saying, "Oh yeah, Troy, what do you need?" And then they understand the business, they understand. So I think in any business, but I said it's who you know. It really is. I mean, it does include what you know, but realistically, you can know everything in the world. You really got to have people that you can connect with and basically. My favorite quote is "Rising tide raises all ships." Like you need the rest of the people there to ride the tide with you,
right? And you have to reach out to those people. And I think what you just said, Galen's important. Start a conversation and continue a conversation with people. Whether you necessarily have business with them or not. And who you are, tell them who you are, what you're doing, and just stay connected with people. That's another thing I'm trying to do better at is just stay connected with. My customers or even people that aren't my customers and just are networking friends or business like-minded people just trying to stay connected, so they know where you're at and, maybe you can help them with something that they're going through. Or maybe they can help you. Like you said, I was, like I said, I was very, very happy with, the North Country Chamber of Commerce, what they've been able to do, for local business. I'm seeing it firsthand. And I'm one of those people that can attest to, the success of what they do.
So we haven't mentioned this yet, but you were was it 2021? I get the right year, Business of the Year.
Yes.
So 2021 Business of the Year, North Country Chamber of Commerce. That was the virtual one, right?
It was.
Yeah. So
which was kind of awkward but fun.
Yeah. So I don't know what your viewing party was like, but so. Obviously that's one of the biggest awards you can win of the year. I would, I think in the business community, if you win an award at that, the cool thing is, obviously the chamber gives it away, or gives it out, but at the end of the day, it's like it's pretty unanimous. The person that wins it, I think it's as a collective, people are typically great choice. Like very rarely someone getting like, why the hell did they pick them?
I think that was I had known you from. Just local stuff. I'd heard of you, but I think when you won the Trailblazer Award, didn't you, Galen? I think that was I think that was the first time I remember hearing your name besides real estate. So, they were really, they were great. And I think some of the success was us overcoming, like I said before, some of the obstacles. It wasn't necessarily just all growth, which I'm very happy and fortunate that we have had the growth that we've had. But I think it was, also some of the things that we've been able to overcome and providing a business to Plattsburgh that, nobody had, or nobody was really capitalizing on yet. And I was happy that we're able to provide that for local Plattsburgh. I mean, first and foremost, we did it for North Country business and Plattsburgh business, so we can support that. But, rail yards and industrial growth, we could literally bring a company to Plattsburgh that's not here, by just having stuff like that. So, it was really, it felt, I guess the best word is validating. I felt validated that, people, after 4 or 5 years saw the same things that we kind of saw, and realized that it was an important piece of the puzzle.
Do you also find that, like I said, when we get into this, let's say South Junction, obviously more
Sure.
recycling too, but you said when you're busy. I mean, there's a certain point where you almost just go underwater and just don't come up for a couple years. Then you finally come up and you're like, oh, yeah, I guess we have done some stuff.
You got to put the work in, right? So
'cause you almost have blinders on. You just are so engrossed in what you're doing.
And I'm going to be honest. I had a couple of different years where I wasn't working with my family, and I wasn't sure. So I worked with my family when I was younger, and then I took a break from about 2008 to 2012 or 13. I wasn't working with my family. I actually lived in California. I lived in Los Angeles, and I was doing audio engineering and working in recording studios.
Really?
Yeah.
So I should get some tips on this.
I was gonna say I might have a couple of things.
Yeah, there you go.
I can tell you. So I guess the point I was trying to make in that is it's not always crystal clear. Like you were talking about, you're underwater, you're doing the work. Sometimes I guess the point I'm trying to make is I was gone for 5.5 years when I lived in LA, and then I chalk it up as a life lesson that I found out that's something that I like to do for a hobby that I thought I wanted to make a career out of, was just a hobby. And I really missed my family business. And that's when I came back, and when More Recycling really got, actually my mom and my brother were doing a fantastic job before I even got back. But when I came back, when we really started firing on all cylinders with More Recycling, and then, several years later is when South Junction was starting.
So audio engineering?
Yeah.
So that was just like a hobby,
So
as a kid?
I was in bands in high school. I was I played some sports, but I was more of I was in bands with some of my friends when I was younger.
Okay.
And that kind of
like rock band or ensemble kind of band?
Both.
Okay.
I played trumpet in the school band, but yeah, we were in rock bands, played around Plattsburgh, had a lot of.
What was your band name?
I was in the first band I was ever in was called Second to Last, and we were kind of pop emo kind of stuff. Loved Blink 182, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good show.
Everybody loved Blink 182,
Yeah.
and then I was in a band with some of my other friends from Osable Valley called the Summer's Fall, so that was fun. And then that's kind of, I always loved music, so I would say the one thing about me besides work and stuff is I love all kinds of music, everything.
So what instruments do you play?
Guitar, bass, drums, stuff
so
like
cool.
that. Yeah, and I loved music, so I kind of wanted to try to. I wasn't sure if working with my family was exactly what I wanted, so I had to go, sow my wild oats, and moved out to California and went to music school, graduated, and did that for a few years. And my girlfriend, my wife, who's now my wife, Rachel, my girlfriend at the time, she moved out, and we lived out there for. I was out there almost 5.5 years. She was out there, I think, 4 years, and we lived out there, and we're doing our own thing. And the other side of
LA?
oh yeah, we were right in LA. I wanted to be close to school because my friends that I knew that lived further outside of. Actually, I was right in Hollywood. My school was in Hollywood. The farther out they lived, the more late they were for school every day because of public transit and stuff. So I lived really close to school, but that was an experience. I worked at some cool studios out there. Actually worked at Will Smith's studio for a long time. And
Getting jiggy with it?
yeah, and but yeah, it was I guess, to get back, it was something I had to go do. And I tell people I only have 3 to 5 that I can chalk up as a life lesson. I'm sure you have some.
Yeah.
And I had to have that experience to realize I miss seeing my brother every day at work. I missed working with my family, seeing my mom. I have a lot of respect for people, or feel a certain way for people that don't get to see their family a lot. That's tough. And I was like, I'm a family person, so not seeing my family for once a year, if I'm lucky, or twice a year was tough. But that's when I came back, and then we started going with all these business things.
So again, audio engineering. Were you mixing music, or like how's that work?
So I was mostly doing mixing. I learned how to do both tracking and mixing. I went to a school out there and graduated in a year and a half, a little over a year. And I had this misconception that I was going to record bands and do what I always loved music, and it was going to be starting at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock and work until 4 o'clock like I had always done when I was younger. And, that was definitely a misconception.
Probably working at 4 a.m.?
Yeah. I was going in, it was crazy. I was going in at like 1 in the afternoon, setting up for studio sessions for artists, that were supposed to come in at, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Sometimes they'd get there at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Sometimes they didn't record at all.
Type B personalities, right?
And I'd be there till 5 in the morning. I'd be driving down the 101. There's nobody on the 101 at 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. If it's in the middle of the day, it's 5 lanes, bumper to bumper. But I'd come home just in enough time to bring my girlfriend, Rachel, to work, for 6 a.m. She worked at a different business out there. So I'd come home, walk my dog, walk her to work, go home, go back to sleep so I could go back to the studio for 12 or 1 o'clock that same day.
So who were the music people, the people that came in, the artists? Were they known? Were they just kind of like smaller?
So when I worked at Will's studio, it was mostly R&B and pop people. Mm-hmm. But Chris Brown,
so you're the guy sitting behind the glass as they're in the studio?
Yeah, I was actually, a lot of the time, I was like an assistant. I wasn't necessarily the person recording them. I would assist the guy that was recording them. Rihanna, Chris Brown, Kid Cudi, a lot of rap people at that studio. But really cool experience, met a lot of really cool people. And like I said, I wouldn't trade it. It was awesome living in California. I loved it. I missed the weather.
Yeah.
But it took that for me to be like, I like working for myself. I like making my own schedule.
Are you a seasonal guy too?
As far as
I like just like
do I like
the LA? There's no seasons. It's gorgeous every day.
It is.
I don't know. Are you like a skier? Are you like hiking?
I do not do very much for extracurricular activities. I have to be honest. In the wintertime, I wish I would, take up snowboarding. Maybe when my daughter gets a little older, we can, do snowboarding and skiing and stuff. But I like the seasons. I like to do stuff. We do stuff outside in the wintertime. But man, it's nothing beats that LA weather. The California weather is amazing. I tell people it can look like the worst day ever at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And then in an hour, it's the most beautiful day you've ever seen.
I've been to California a couple times, and every time we've gone down, it's like Anaheim, which is, we usually fly into LAX and you go down. So Anaheim, and we've been to like Newport Beach and things like that. And it's amazing. And
it's nice.
I'll go down to Florida. I'm not a heat guy. So like when I say like muggy heat, like I don't like the humidity. So I'll go down to Florida, and I'm kind of like, give me AC. I don't like that heat. I go out to LA. I'm like, I don't care if it's 80.
Oh yeah.
It's dry.
It's different.
It's beautiful. And
it's different.
Yeah. You walk around and it's hot, but it's not uncomfortable hot.
Well, you kind of get that like coastal Venice Beach, breeze coming even into most of LA. So we had a lot of great adventures when we lived out in LA. It was fun. A lot of amazing food. Culture's great. We were younger, so we did a lot of fun stuff. We'd drive around, and a lot of great memories out there.
No, that's cool. So do you still do any kind of music today?
Not really, to tell you the truth. It's between working with my family and stuff and doing the dad thing and the husband thing, it takes a lot of time. I still go to concerts. My wife and I will go to concerts, do stuff. Music's still a huge part of my life. Just not recording it as much anymore. I still play instruments and do stuff with, actually got a couple buddies of mine that we play once in a while, get together and jam. They'll come over to my house, I go over to their house, and we have a good time with it. But, not recording like I was back then from 1 to 1 and 1 to 3 in the morning.
Different life as a dad. This is like our first year back of like going to see concerts.
Yeah.
We have like a decent chunk of like some concerts laid up this week, this year, and I'm like, who
are you going to see?
So, oh God, my memory sucks here. 2 weeks we're going to see Coldplay, which is my wife's favorite band. So
absolutely,
and I've actually have a better appreciation for them. When I was a kid, I was like, I don't really like Coldplay. I mean, they have like some songs, but they were overplayed.
I like Coldplay.
Yeah, and then my wife introduced me to, when you start listening to their whole catalog, like, these guys are actually really good.
Oh yeah, been around for a while too.
Yeah, 100%. So seeing them, we've seen them a couple times before, so it'll be fun. And then going to see Dave down at SPAC for the weekend. So I'm excited. That's probably my favorite band. So.
They have a pretty serious residency at SPAC. Usually Dave doesn't, don't they? They come every year, kind of thing.
Friday, Saturday, and that's so I'm kind of like in that genre of bands.
That's great.
Do you know Dispatch?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so Dispatch and OAR are playing later. Yep. Dispatch is top 2 or 3 bands for me of all time. So,
that's awesome.
So it's kind of like one of those like perfect storm. We're seeing all the bands that I kind of like. So and you go a couple years without seeing them. It's like I actually really miss going to see live music.
Right.
So
SPAC's great. I mean, going somewheres and being hour and a half away from something. How nice is that? Where you can do that.
Well, LA must have been. The traffic must have been.
That's one thing. So at that time,
might have been 5 miles away, but an hour and a half.
Could go in any direction. So one thing that was cool is my buddies and I guy I moved out with from Keysville, Matt. We used to go to like the Troubadour, which is like the most iconic. That's like where the Doors came up, Yeah. These places that in the 60s.
Did Elton John play there a lot too?
Yeah, so Elton John had some huge shows at the Troubadour. Yeah. So we would go to the Troubadour, Hollywood Bowl, Hollywood Palladium, the Hollywood. Yeah, I said the Hollywood Bowl. There, there's these iconic places that people played, that go down as
isn't a Greek theater? Isn't that?
Yeah. So there's exactly. So we went to those places and that was super fun. We saw some great shows out there. My buddy got me into Dredge when I was out there, so we went and saw Dredge play out there. They were great. We saw some heavy, we were into metal too, so we went to like some heavy metal shows and stuff. But just a really fun time, like a fun, carefree time where like I know I wouldn't have been having that much fun if I was like not to sound rude, but like working like I work now. You know.
Yeah.
So I definitely we had a blast doing that.
Have you ever been to a bad concert? Live?
I don't think so.
I always think like live music, even if you don't really like the
genre.
Even the worst.
So I love music so much. I love all different kinds of music. The worst concert is still like you're going to a concert, you're going to doing something. You know what I mean? It's not bad.
Yeah, it's like when I go, like I like playing golf. I don't play it as much as I wish I did, but you go play, even if
you never have a bad round of golf, right?
I mean, I certainly shoot bad, but then we also remind ourselves because I play with dads now. Like we're all older. You work or you whatever, and if any of us are having a bad day, like. You're golfing. It's okay. Like we're golfing. We're not working. Like you have no responsibility really right now, but just to have fun. So, and again, it puts it in perspective. So if you had a bad shot, it's like, I don't care. It's gorgeous out. Like I'm outside. I'm doing stuff. Having a little bit of fun. So, now, again, kind of like spin off and kind of getting away from work, but like I said, is there much that you do to kind of unwind? Like you said, you don't really do a lot of like extracurriculars, but
I don't record or do anything like that stuff anymore with music. But like I said, we go to concerts and stuff. I think my big thing now is just vacationing. It sounds kind of boring saying.
Do you get out to do that a lot?
I'm trying to do it more.
Yeah.
I feel like everything you're like, do you really do it? I'm like, I'm trying to do it. Yeah. Just spending time with my family, getting away. I want to travel. A lot of my family is big travelers. Went to different countries. So pre-COVID, we were starting to do a lot of overseas travel. My wife and I went to Greece. We went to Italy.
Nice.
So we've kind of been going back and forth, but we do 3 like states kind of things. And then I was like, well, let's trade that off for like one overseas thing, Yeah. So when we went to Greece, with my wife's sister and her husband. That was awesome. We had a blast. We went and saw the northern part of Italy. That was a blast. We want to go back, and Italy's so big.
Like Milan and
so we
Torino
did
and
like
all that?
we did like Positano. We did Naples. We did that area, but I want to do like, you know, Sicily. I want to do some of the other places that you had mentioned. There's just so much to see in the world. So now I feel like traveling's like, I kind of like to see stuff overseas a little bit better right now in my life, I feel like, because not that I don't enjoy going to Florida and just kicking back and stuff, but I like to see different cultures, stuff like that.
Yeah.
How they perceive stuff.
Is your wife like that?
She loves traveling too.
But I mean, like the same kind of travel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have fun. We try to mix it up because we don't get a ton of vacation. So like sometimes we just go and do the beach vacation and lay on the beach and, you know, boozy drinks and have fun too. Like, I'm not going to pretend like we're all like super cultured, but it's fun to mix it up.
My wife is like, give me sun, give me humidity, give me sand. And we're so opposite. I'm like, like I would like to go to like Italy or go to some place like it. And that's, like I went to Italy years ago and it's an amazing place, but you're not really hanging out on the beach. I'm like, I want to go, like, I'll walk around, get something to eat, something to drink, kind of go see some of the sights. And I think, you know, even just walking down, like, a corridor of just, like, you know, one of those, like, city squares and just seeing, like, the people. And it's cool. Like,
I'm exactly the same way as you on that. So, like, now I just remembered a couple of the places. I was drawing a blank. So we went to Sorrento, Positano, I love Capri.
Capri, yeah. Capri's, like, it's
amazing, but it was like, it was crazy. One thing I liked,
take the ferry over,
the
little ferry boat. Yeah.
So one thing I loved is how they have such pride in building stuff back the old way. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean
the actual architecture itself.
Yeah.
Well, Greece must have been amazing for that.
It was, and you know, like the city squares and stuff. I saw this guy in Italy, and you know, they're placing stones in the cobblestone streets, and he was like literally like leveling it out with his feet and like putting it back the way it was now. I feel like, and I love, you know, I love buildings. I look at things differently. You know, my family used to take pictures of stuff, and you know, it's even bigger than just like buildings and cities is how do they live their lives there. So like one thing that was a big to me is, you know, I see how we kind of kill ourselves to work, you know, as in the United States, and nothing wrong with it, whatever, but they totally are different over in Italy. They're like
siestas and
so when we're going down and I'm like, the shops are closed at 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm like, it's not the weekend, or like it's not Sunday, and they're like, people are like, no, they just close down. They go out to dinner with their family, and I'd see these people have like early dinners, and they're much more like they live for family, and work is important, but they don't. It's not everything to them. You know what I mean? And that took me back.
It's a cool culture because I think that things are slower there at times, and like when we went to Ireland. And so I had like family in Ireland and stuff, and we went over. It was cool, but just quiet and just like very simple and very. I feel like it was about 30 years in the past from a lot of standpoint. Now, obviously, if you go to like a Dublin or something, like that's definitely more modern. It's a European city, but the countryside and just like the regular little town shops, like you have like mom and pop shops, you have the butcher shop, you have the little small bank, then you have like the little merchant that's selling something, and but very authentic. And like you'll go into like a pub, and I mean any bar in Europe's just cool, but like you go into like a little Irish pub, and it's like you can try to recreate one around here. When you go to like a legit Irish pub, you know it, and I don't know what it is, you just feel it, but it's same thing. Just everybody's like really relaxed and really happy, and just kind of like, I don't think anybody was pissed off any place we went. And everybody's just like, it's sunny out. It's gonna rain a little bit. We find it's green. Have a beer. And I'm like, okay, I like this. Let's go. But it was it was a good time. So we, but the traveling, like we're finally starting to get out with the kids to travel, which is, and I say travel, it's like a by car ride to like a someplace. But
so I think that's kind of like one of the things that is important to me is hopefully to immerse my children, and also have a amazing time with my wife and my family and her sisters and brothers and my brother and our families. We're trying to do something where we do like these big family vacations where we all come together, which is really tough because the last time my brother and I went on vacation together, it was like 13 years ago, 12, 13, you know, it just doesn't happen because we both have to, you know, be there to cover for each other. If he's going somewhere, I'm like, okay, I got you. I'll cover for you. Yep. If I'm going somewhere, he's covering for me. I'm like, you know, goal of mine is us to do more stuff together, you know? And
see my family?
So my brother does not have kids. He has a girlfriend. They do stuff, but he doesn't have a family yet. So it's a little different for us. But
still
he
fun,
understands, and he's excited to be an uncle. So it's really cool. But
well, it's good to like I said, it's good to know that you can leave and someone can like, lock it down and handle it, because I think that's
we always cover for each other. You have to have that.
Well, it gives you that balance too, and
right.
It gives you that time where
I'm fortunate for that.
Yeah, where you just like check out, and that's like I said, because you got to rest, you got to like rejuvenate, and that's something that I'm really trying to get to. So we'll probably compare notes maybe later in the year. Like,
where did you go? Where did I go? No, we're always looking for, you know, we have our places that we want to go, and like I said, you know, since COVID and everything, you know, kind of shut down a lot of the international travel. Super excited to be able to get back to that. But like I said, we just went to Florida with my mom, and we went to a fun place in Florida and just went for a few days, and it just feels good to just do. You know, if you can't do that huge vacation overseas, you know, go to Europe or something, it feels good just to, you know, recharge a little bit, be with your family and friends, like, you know, Galen, you know.
Well, I think as I've gotten older, there's a couple things that really stick out that I'm like, these are just almost like nice little life hacks.
Yeah.
The long weekend trip,
right,
which is great. Like, just let me leave like late Thursday or early Friday, and it just feels, because I also get the point, I have a hard time leaving for an extended period of time because I get itchy. Like, I gotta like do stuff. So 3-4 days, just it's almost like a little flash in the pan, and it feels great. And then the other one, again, is the darty, the day drinking party. So when you start day drinking and you just roll that in, you're in bed by 9-10, you wake up the next day and you're great. There's not a better parenting hack in the world. So I find that there's like certain things that I'm picking up now as you get older. You're like, yeah, that's why that exists. And
you got to have that.
Talk about the efficiency. Like, we're getting efficient with how we can still have fun, but, you know, be responsible. So, Troy, anything else you want to cover, or you?
I don't think so. I mean, just appreciate you having me on and talking to me. It's nice to learn something about you too, and talk a little bit, and excited to be a part of your podcast.
Yeah, it was good. It was great having you on. And if people want to find you on any of the fronts, kind of where can they find you? How can they reach out? I'm
on Facebook, Troy Baraby, More Recycling, South Junction Enterprises. Also on Instagram, Troy Baraby, South Junction Enterprise on Instagram, and you know, More Recycling online. I mean, we're pretty much on everything besides.
No TikTok?
No TikToks. No, don't have time for TikToks. But we're on Instagram, Facebook, and you know, we're out and about.
They can track you down.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, that's it. Troy Baraby, episode 193, The Galen Trombley Show. We're out. Thanks for listening to The Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.